Hello, everybody. So, today I'd like to share my testimony with you because the Bible says a true testimony saves lives, and so I'd like to share my testimony for the glory of God, so God may be glorified. I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and I have two siblings, and back then it was the five of us living in a very small space, very, very small space. Like a studio room, and so that is where we live, just to give you an idea of how dysfunctional our family life was. So that on its own is not such a big deal, because I mean, many people, they live in very small spaces and yet they're very happy, but in our case that wasn't the case. We would be very hungry at times, because even though my dad, he was healthy, he didn't really work for us, and when he did, he would gamble the money away, and then we wouldn't have food or even proper clothing to wear. I remember sometimes I would have to ask family members or cousins if I could borrow something from them, if I wanted to go to a special event like a wedding or whatnot. Also, my dad would frequently beat my mom, and that kind of like made us very anxious children. We were so anxious, and I remember one time I didn't want my mom to brush my hair. However, she insisted that I needed to brush my hair, or she needed to brush my hair. Anyway, so I didn't want her to do that. Anyway, so she had to run after me, ran after me to get my hair fixed. But then I ran to my dad, and that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. And I told him, I said to him, "Dad, I don't want to brush my hair, and Mom is running after me," and so on. And then my dad got up, and he took my mom, and he started just to beat her. She just beat her up, and even to the point where she couldn't even stand anymore. So she was out on the floor, and he kept kicking her in the stomach, and later on I would actually see blood coming from her body, and so that was very traumatic for me. One of the very, very traumatic, one of the most traumatic experiences I had in my life. And so that was the kind of dysfunctional life I had, not just me, but also my siblings and my mom as well. And so this is how it continued, right through my childhood. And because my mom was a Christian, she used to talk to us about Christianity, even though she went through all this traumatic experiences herself. She also she used to tell us about God, and how we should trust in God and so on. And then she also told us about heaven and hell and so on. And then I started to feel really afraid. And I said to myself, "Oh my goodness, I don't want to go to hell." And then at 14 years old, I decided to give my life to Jesus, which I did, and it was a very emotional moment for me. But then, because of this, my dysfunctional family life, I started handling the situation better. But then afterwards, I just couldn't take it anymore, and then I decided to. Then I just kind of. My Christian life wasn't that good anymore, and I started having feelings of committing suicide, and I hated my dad so much that I wanted him to die, and I had thoughts of killing him, and I would constantly see, not constantly, but many a times I would see myself taking a knife and just finishing him off because of what was happening in my life. I couldn't handle it very well, and I started to just do just follow my own way of doing things, and I started hating my dad so much, even to the point where I said to him that you're not my father, you're not my dad, you're not my father. And then one day he beat me up as well for something I didn't do. I didn't do anything, but he beat me up. And then at that point, I was now in high school, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it anymore because this is the kind of thing that I had to deal with as a child, all my life. And it caused so much anxiety and stress and depression in my life. And so I decided that, this is enough. I can't handle it anymore. And so he beat me up so badly that I had bruises on my body and so on. And so I ran away from home. And then I went to live with my grandma. And but life still was very it wasn't very good because I had this issue with my dad. And I felt so sorry for my siblings because they were still at home. And one day after I ran away from home, my dad came to my grandma's house, and he was so angry, and he banged on the door and said, he told my grandma, give my child back to me, it's my child. And so I said, no, I'm not your child, go away, I don't like you, I hate you, I don't want you, you're not my father, I said to him. And so, and my grandma, they wouldn't open the door. So we went to the police station, and the police, they said, oh, well, we can't do anything, because I was still underage, I was not 18 yet. And so they said, well, if my dad wants me to go back home, then I need to go back home because I'm still underage, and they can't do anything, which was really weird because my dad was very abusive, and so they should have done something, but they didn't do much. So anyway, but I refused to go home. But then I that night when my dad came to my grandma's house, I heard my youngest sibling, my younger brother, I heard him crying in the car. And I felt so sorry for him, and so I went back home again. But then it was just for a while, then I ran back. Then I went to live with my grandma on a permanent basis because I just couldn't take it anymore. And later on, my siblings, they also ran away from home. They my brother, one brother, he also came to live with me. And then my brother, my younger brother, he eventually, he became old enough to go and live with another family member. So that is how we got out of the house. So, which was really, awesome for us because we didn't have to go through all that, trauma anymore. But it didn't stop there because, I had issues. And at that point in my life, and I grew up. And at that stage, I was out of high school, and I had problems with a boyfriend. And it was just terrible, because it almost seemed like nothing was going right in my life. Even though I attended church, I just attended church, but I didn't really want to be there because at that stage I was just like fed up with everyone. And then I also left my job because I also experienced, it was so stressful for me. So yeah, like I said, I left my job. And then the boss, he sent me flowers. My boss sent me flowers via somebody else, and asked me to please come back to work. And then I went back, and then the stress continued at work. And so I, to the point where I started having problems physically. I got sick, and because of the stress at work. And I wasn't the only one. Another person also who worked there with me in one office, she also left. And she actually, she got so sick that she actually had to use medication for depression. And that's how bad it was at work. And so all these things happened to me. And yeah, and eventually I did leave again. Second time I left. Um, um, and then more problems started happening, because then, I thought it was going to be easy to find work, but in my country, even today, it's really hard to find a job. And so I struggled finding a good job. I would send my resume to many different companies, but it just didn't help. And then eventually, one day I was so fed up, and I went job hunting. And then I was just so discouraged, and I went home. And at this point, my grandma, she actually helped me, and she provided for me, because now I didn't have a job anymore, and I felt so bad, because my grandma, she was a pensioner, and now she had to provide for me as well, and that made me feel even worse. And so then I went back to my back home, and there was nobody at home, and I went into the bedroom, and I knelt down. I said, God, please, could you help me? I don't know what's going on in my life. Why are these things happening to me? And then I knelt down, and I said, God, please help me. And then, after this prayer, I just randomly opened the Bible, and I said, God, if you want to talk to me, then I'm just going to open the Bible and talk to me. Why are these things happening to me? And so when I opened the Bible, I saw Revelation, and in this specific verse, I got it. It said, you have left me. I was your first love, and you left me, and that's why these things are happening to you. And as you can imagine, I was so shocked, because I felt like, wow, God really heard me. He heard my prayer, and that was so shocking to me. I mean, I was there alone. I didn't tell anybody. I just spoke to God, and I opened the Bible, and I asked this question. Nobody was around, and I opened the Bible, and it says, this is the reason why things are going the way they're going with you. And so, after that, I just started sobbing, and I said, God, please forgive me. Yes, it's true. I'm not following you the way I hate my dad. I'm not supposed to hate anyone. I'm supposed to love even my enemy. And at that point, I hated my dad, even to the point where I wanted him to die. And I wasn't serving God the way I was supposed to. And anyway, so I repented, immediately started repenting, and just asked God for forgiveness. And as I was asking his forgiveness, something really wonderful happened. So, like I said, while I was repenting, actually, I could feel, all of a sudden, I just felt something coming over me, like, and through me, like almost, I don't know how to explain it to you, but it felt like God was just pouring his love all over me and in me, inside of me, and just cleansing me. I don't know how to explain that feeling, but I could just feel something coming over my body. Physically, I could feel something coming over my body, cleansing my whole being, cleansing me and loving on me, just loving me. And kind of, that's how I felt. And I was being cleansed right there and then, so cleansed with his blood. And I felt as if God was saying, I forgive you, my daughter. I forgive you. And I love you. And that was such an overwhelming feeling. And while that was happening, I could feel something just lifting off my shoulders. So, and all of a sudden my shoulders just started to feel so light. I didn't feel so burdened anymore. I didn't feel burdened at all. It was just such an amazing experience. A wonderful experience. And I was just sobbing and crying and said, I just said, thank you, God, thank you for forgiving me, because I could actually feel him forgiving me, so, and that was an amazing experience, because it felt to me as if God was there in the room with me. And so the Bible, it says that, God will never leave us nor forsake us, and he's with us and in us. And so, God never left me, even though I left God. He never left me. And so that was such an amazing experience for me. And so after that experience, I decided that I was going to follow God. I was going to wholeheartedly just serve him and worship him every day, and love him. And he was going to be my first love again. And so that happened, and I started serving God, even though at that stage I didn't have a job, nothing, I was still I still had to depend on my grandma to provide for me. And but then I stopped hating my dad. I didn't hate my dad anymore. I didn't hate anyone anymore. And then slowly but surely, all the broken pieces, they were put back together again, and which was really amazing, because now at this stage, I started working for God. And God started. It was during this period God started giving me dreams of people, because now I had a really, really close relationship with God. And so then during this period, God started talking to me, like I said, through dreams and visions. I would dream about secret things, secret things of other people. I would, for example, dream of somebody who had a grudge against somebody, and I would dream about her having this grudge. I went to this person specifically, and I told her, this is the dream I had, and I believe that God is the one who gave me this dream. And so then she told me, oh, but what you dreamt, it is true. I do have a grudge against somebody. And so that was just shocking to me as well, because I had all these new experiences, dreaming about things, dreaming about other people's stuff and things in their lives. I would also, I remember one stage I also had a dream about a couple, and they had marital problems. And so God also wanted me to go to that couple. And long story short, they became they reconciled. So that was really awesome. This is how God used me. Yeah, so these things happened, and it was just amazing. I was overwhelmed, and it's almost as if, the closer I got to God, the more He started talking to me, in tangible ways, very tangible ways, which is so amazing. And at this stage, I didn't talk to my dad yet, but I didn't hate him anymore, because I loved God, and I felt that I'm not supposed to hate anyone. And so then one day my dad came to me, or we and then he said, please forgive me for everything that I've done, which was really amazing, because never ever had that happen in my life. He never apologized for anything that he had done, so that was amazing. And so I also asked him if he could forgive me, because I said really terrible things to him, like, I hate you, and you're not my dad, and so on. Even though maybe some people would feel, oh yeah, he deserves that, he deserves it. So, and he deserved everything that came to him. So, but I was a Christian, and I was a follower of Jesus Christ, and so I was not supposed to hate. So I asked him also to forgive me, and we hugged and cried. And so I could feel that God was just, bending all the broken pieces, putting all the broken pieces together. It was such an amazing experience. Sometimes people would give me money also, which I want to mention. One example I want to share with you is that one day my uncle, he gave me about, I think, $2, and I took that money and I said thank you, because I wasn't working at that moment, like I mentioned before. And I said thank you, and then I would take that money, $2, and then I would give 50%. In other words, $1 I would give to the church, because I felt that I should give to God, and so I would give 50% of that, even $2. It was really not much money, but that's how I felt, and that's how my relationship with God was at that stage. So close, I felt that I wanted to give to God, even though I didn't have much. So then I felt, God, I said to God, I'm doing all these things for you, and you using me in such powerful ways now. So could you please give me a job now? When are you going to give me a job now? And God, the job I would like for you, if you give me a job now, I don't want to wear a uniform anymore, because at my previous workplace, I had to wear a very boring uniform, which I didn't like at all. And I said, God, I don't want to wear a uniform, please. And if you give me a job now, then I don't want to have any problems with transport, because at that stage I didn't have a car. I couldn't drive. And I said, God, also please, you know what it was like at my previous workplace. It was very stressful and so on. So please, the people I work with, please let them just be very kind people. I don't want any problems anymore. My boss, please let him just be a nice person. And so God gave me all of these things. I mean, I was very specific when I asked God these things, and He gave me everything. I mean, I didn't have a car, and yet my boss or my manager, he gave me a ride to work. So that was awesome. God gave me everything, and I didn't have to wear a uniform. And it was just wonderful. We had a wonderful relationship. I worked with my manager. Just the two of us worked together, and he was also a Christian. And because of this, we would spend lots of time, hours and hours, just talking about, Christianity and life and so on, because we had this thing in common. And so it was really awesome. And he was very understanding. And so he had a beautiful personality as well. And so, later on, to make a long story short, God also gave me a husband, and my manager, he became my husband as well. And the two of us, we went through a lot together, which is also a story for another day. But God used both of us also in very interesting ways. But like I said, that is a story for another day. And so I just give praises to God. And the very interesting thing is that my father, he was the one who introduced me to my husband. When I was looking for a job, and after that prayer, my dad, he said, "Oh, there's a client," and because my dad, he was a mechanic, and so at that point he found a job and at a mechanical workshop. And so he was fixing a client's car. My dad told him about me because I think he knew that I was looking for a job. And then he said to my mom, that my mom should tell me about this. And then I just said to myself, I just thought to myself, oh, I'm not even going to prepare for this interview. But I'm not even going to prepare for this interview because I don't even think I'm going to get this job, because at that stage I just thought it was not going to happen. So I said, oh well, okay, let me just go for the interview and see what happens. And then I went and I got the job, which was so surprising to me because I was not prepared. I didn't prepare for the interview at all. And so that was also amazing because my dad, of all people, he kind of helped me to get this job because he told this man about me. And also this man became my husband. So if you think about it, God works in really, really mysterious ways. I got this job through my dad, of all people, and also my husband. He became my husband as well because of my dad, which is really interesting the way God works, isn't it? And so I thank God for His goodness, really. I really thank Him for His goodness because He changed my life. He really did. Because as I have mentioned, my life was so dysfunctional, and many a times I felt like I wanted to commit suicide, and but God kept me. And I don't, like right now, I don't hate my dad anymore. In fact, we talk on the phone, over the phone a lot, and we chat, and I help them as much as I can financially. I am just so happy because I love God being in my life. He is awesome, and I'm really blessed to have God in my life. We were very poor, and we didn't have money to my mom and dad. They didn't have money to even send me off to college or anything like that. And but I am the first one to get a bachelor's degree in my family, and I'm also the first one to have traveled the world and see other countries, and so in my family. So I thank God. Not that I want to brag about it, but I just want to show you that if you seek God first and His kingdom and His righteousness, then everything you need will be added unto you. And so that is what happened in my case. I didn't have a job, no college degree, nothing like that. I was very, very poor. But and I had all these problems in my life, and yet when I started seeking God and His righteousness, His kingdom, He started adding things, and He started giving me what I needed, and much more. The closer I got to God, it felt like goodness and mercy. It felt like really they started following me. God's goodness and God's mercy started following me. And so I'm so grateful to have God in my life, and I declare that Jesus is my Savior and my Lord, and I never want to leave Him. I don't want to do that, because God has done so much for me, and He showed me such love, and that's why I love God, and I just want to keep on loving God. And that's my encouragement to you. If you feel that you have also gone through such things, I want to encourage you to also give God a try, and pray to Him, reach out to Him, and make Him your Lord and Savior. And because He gives peace, He gives you a peace that passes all understanding. And so that's my encouragement to you. May God bless you, and I hope this testimony is a blessing to you as well.